Imagine being invited to a night that promises luxury, glamour, and the company of a living legend. An irresistible invitation, capable of opening doors to a world few dare even dream of entering. But what if, behind the sparkle of diamonds and the roar of engines, there was something more, something wild, uncontrollable, lurking in the shadows? Mike Tyson, the Titan of the ring, was not just a champion. He was a man who lived on the edge between power and danger. That night, for a beautiful model, was a passport to a story no fashion magazine would ever fully tell. But when she crossed the gilded gates of Tyson's mansion, she didn't know she was also stepping into the cage of the unpredictable. Would you have the courage to walk through that door knowing that, on the other side, not only fame awaited you, but also the gaze of a beast? What happens when luxury blends with savagery? How far would you go for an experience that few have survived to tell? Chapter 1: Seduction Under Luxury. The Irresistible Proposal. In the electric atmosphere of the 90s, when pop culture worshipped its idols like demigods, few shone brighter than Mike Tyson. At the peak of his fame, with a championship belt slung over his shoulder and an aura of invincibility, Tyson was more than a boxer. He was a symbol of raw power and wealth. When he extended an invitation to an exclusive date, it wasn't merely a request. It was an offer laced with danger and allure. The recipient of this rare privilege was a stunning model, accustomed to high society, but unprepared for the intoxicating intensity of Tyson's world. The mansion promised opulence, but beneath the promise of luxury, there was an undercurrent of unpredictability. What exactly lay beyond those gilded gates? Would this night change her life forever, or end it? Charm and power. As she stepped into his mansion, the air felt different, thick with the scent of wealth, leather, and something primal. Tyson greeted her with his signature grin, equal parts boyish charm and predatory confidence. The glint of his diamond-encrusted watch seemed to pulse with every heartbeat. He led her past an array of exotic cars, sleek and aggressive, like caged beasts ready to pounce. Each step deeper into his world was a descent into temptation and dominance. She was drawn in, mesmerized yet cautious. His laughter was disarming, but his presence held an undercurrent of danger. Could this intoxicating blend of power and charisma conceal something far more sinister beneath the surface? The wild secret. Laughter echoed off marble walls as glasses of champagne clinked, the atmosphere growing warmer. Her initial nerves were melting away, replaced by fascination. Tyson began revealing the more eccentric shades of his personality, his love for rare animals. She giggled at the absurdity when he mentioned his Bengal tigers. Surely it was a joke. Then a guttural roar pierced the air, primal and undeniable. Her smile froze. The sound was not from a speaker. It was real. Her eyes darted to the window, where the shadow of a massive feline prowled under the moonlight. Her pulse quickened. This was no fairy tale evening. It was a dance with the wild. Was she truly safe within these walls, or had she just stepped into the lion's den? Chapter 2: The Door to the Unknown, Adrenaline and Curiosity. The invitation felt like a forbidden key to a world few had ever seen. Her heart pounded, not solely from excitement, but from the intoxicating blend of fear and desire. She craved a story no one else could tell, a brush with the extraordinary. Each footstep echoed softly on the marble floor, her heels clicking like a metronome measuring the tension in the air. The mansion's opulence felt almost surreal, with golden fixtures reflecting the dim, ambient lighting. Paintings of boxing triumphs lined the walls, but her eyes kept drifting toward a hallway shrouded in shadows. She knew the risk, but the allure was stronger. She was walking into the unknown, driven by the dangerous thrill of impressing a man who danced with power and danger daily. Would you dare to step further if you knew what was waiting behind that final door? The first sight, a sliding door whispered open, revealing what seemed more like a temple than a cage. The enclosure was seamlessly integrated with the house, glass walls meeting polished stone. Inside, the tiger lounged like a king on his throne, muscles rippling beneath his striped coat. His amber eyes locked onto her, and for a moment, the world narrowed to that gaze. It was ancient, predatory, yet eerily intelligent. Her breath caught. She told herself he was calm, but instincts screamed otherwise. The tension wasn't in the tiger alone. It was in the air itself, a fragile balance like standing near the edge of a crumbling cliff. One wrong move, one wrong breath, and the entire illusion of safety could shatter. Could you hold your ground with the eyes of a predator reading your every move? Tyson in blind trust. Mike Tyson's laughter cut through the tension like a blade, his voice both comforting and unsettling. He moved with ease beside the beast, his hand tracing over its fur as though petting a house cat. "They love me like family," he said, his smile wide, but his eyes held something deeper, a knowledge of the line between power and peril. She watched, her nerves tight as piano strings. She wanted to believe him, to trust the man who had conquered rings and hearts alike. But deep inside, a voice whispered of hubris, the danger of trusting anyone who claims to have tamed the untamable. And yet she stayed, hypnotized by the scene before her, by the magnetic pull of risk wrapped in wealth and charm. This was more than a night. It was a threshold into a reality few would ever touch. How far would you trust someone who believes they control the uncontrollable? Chapter 3. The Scream That Broke the Spell. The Fatal Touch. She stood frozen, her heart pounding like a war drum beneath her chest. Every instinct screamed for her to back away, but there was something hypnotic in the beast's eyes. The majestic feline, with striped fur and yellow gaze, seemed, for a fleeting moment, tamed. She wanted to believe the legend about Mike Tyson's gentle tiger was true. With ragged breaths, she raised her trembling hand. Her fingers brushed lightly against the animal's warm fur. It was like touching a force of nature. For a second, time stood still. The world hung in suspension, and she felt a connection that transcended words. The illusion of control, the false security of taming the wild. Then everything changed. In the blink of an eye, the animal's skin tensed. A low, guttural growl echoed like muffled thunder. Its tail whipped through the air, and before she could pull away, the predator struck. How far does our trust blind us to the looming danger? The savage attack. The tiger's weight knocked her down as if she were made of paper. Sharp claws sank into the soft flesh of her shoulder. A ferocious roar drowned out her piercing scream. White razor-sharp teeth dug deep into her arm, tearing through fabric and flesh with brutal ease. Hot blood gushed, staining the white carpet and the Italian leather sofas. Crimson splashes formed a grotesque contrast against the surrounding luxury. She writhed, feeling the searing pain and the crushing weight of the beast. Every movement of the feline was calculated and lethal. It was the final dance between predator and prey. Her eyes frantically searched for help. The laughter that had echoed through the rooms minutes before had now turned into screams of horror. People retreated, some frozen in shock, others running away, unable to face the nightmare unfolding before them. Why do we believe that luxury can protect us from nature's relentless fury? Tyson desperate, the world champion, known for his raw power and imposing presence in the ring, now faced a challenge that tested not only his strength, but also his courage and sanity. Mike Tyson charged at the animal as though facing another fighter, but this opponent followed no rules. He grabbed the tiger's neck, using all his might to pull it away from the woman lying on the floor, drenched in blood and sobbing. The boxer's calloused hands pressed against the beast's nape, his heart hammering in sheer desperation. He screamed for security, for friends, for God. The tiger's roar blended with Tyson's shouts, creating a chaotic symphony of pain and fury. For a brief moment, he felt the real fear that, perhaps for the first time in his life, he was facing something he could not defeat. When strength and fame are no longer enough, what is it that truly remains? Chapter 4. The Cost of Danger, Surgery and Trauma. The sirens howled through the dark streets as the ambulance cut the night like a blade. She lay on the stretcher, blood soaking the pristine leather dress that had once made her feel invincible. Her breathing was shallow, eyes flickering between shock and consciousness. Every jolt of the vehicle was agony, every minute a battle against time. In the operating room, surgeons fought like warriors, their faces tense under the fluorescent lights, trying to salvage what was left of her mangled arm. Luxury had dissolved into suffering. Her dream evening had become a waking nightmare. Will I ever feel whole again? She wondered as anesthesia dragged her into darkness. Tyson's silence. In the mansion, silence reigned, but it was not peace. It was the suffocating weight of guilt. Tyson sat alone in his study, the scent of cigar smoke mixing with the faint metallic tang of blood still clinging to his memory. His fists, once symbols of power, now trembled slightly as he counted stacks of bills, hush money that felt heavier than any championship belt. His lawyers whispered assurances, but his mind was louder, replaying the screams over and over. The beast within him, the tiger and his own rage, felt inseparable. He asked himself, can I truly bury this with money, or will it haunt me forever? The media senses the scandal. Whispers turn to murmurs, and murmurs to headlines waiting to explode. Paparazzi vultures circled, their cameras hungry for blood. Neighbors spoke in hushed tones about flashing lights and hushed screams behind the iron gates. Reporters tested the waters with cryptic columns, implying something amiss in Tyson's kingdom. His denials were firm, but his eyes betrayed cracks in his armor. Public perception, once his fortress, now seemed like glass. Each ringing phone could be the call that shattered everything. How long can I outrun the truth before it devours me? Chapter 5. Invisible Scars. Return to normal. The woman's arm is saved, but the invisible wounds will never heal. The stitches may close on her skin, but in her mind, the wounds remain open. She wakes up in the middle of the night, drenched in cold sweat, feeling the presence of the feline that nearly destroyed her. Every creak of the wooden floor, every shadow cast by the streetlight, drags her back to that moment when her eyes locked with the beast. What was meant to be a romantic evening became a ritual of pain, a trauma that would shape every future encounter. She tries to move forward, but every handshake, every gentle touch on her face, brings back the chilling memory of those fangs. How do you rebuild a life when love and fear have become intertwined? Tyson and the Ghosts. On the outside, the champion remains undefeated. The smile in front of the cameras, the unshakable strength during interviews. But when the lights go out and he's left alone, the ghosts roar. In the dead of night, he hears the sound of the tiger behind the bars. The smell of blood still lingers in his nostrils. The image of the woman screaming, her desperation, is etched into his memory like a blow he could never dodge. The predator he thought he had tamed did not bow to his strength. For the first time, Tyson felt there was something he could not conquer. And what if one day, that tiger was not outside, but within him? How do you face your own reflection when fear stares back from your eyes? The hidden lesson. Amid the camera flashes and the crowd's roars, Mike Tyson grasped a truth few dare to accept. No matter how strong you are, some things lie beyond your control. The beast does not distinguish between champion and nobody. The jungle does not respect trophies. Blood flows the same, regardless of glory. In that moment of terror, he understood. The real battle is against what you cannot foresee. Power is an illusion in the face of untamed nature. Everyone bleeds when the predator awakens. But true strength is not in controlling the world around you. It is in accepting that you too can fall. What is left for us then, when we realize we are not invincible? By the end of that night, the blood had dried, the wounds had healed, but the invisible scars never faded. The model who sought a night of luxury and power would forever carry the weight of having faced savagery up close. Tyson, the invincible giant, discovered that there are battles even his fist cannot win. And you? How many times have you blindly trusted the illusion of control? How far are you willing to go for status, for power, for a place beside the gods? Because the brutal truth is this: the beast may be asleep, but it is never tamed. And when it awakens, everyone bleeds the same. So the next time you are faced with an irresistible invitation, will you accept it? Or will you ask yourself, what really lies behind that door?